This is Gerardo Del Real live from the 2023 Beaver Creek Precious Metals Summit. Joining me today is the CEO of Libero Copper, Mr. Ian Harris. Ian, it's a pleasure to have you out here.
Thanks for having me. It's a pretty exciting time, beautiful weather. Happy to be here.
Well, let's get right into it. This is a new story to our audience, and I'm familiar with your background. Some of our audience may not be familiar with your background. I am a huge copper bull, right? And so I'm intrigued by it. I want to get to know a little bit more about it. Let's talk about your background, and then let's talk company.
So I'll give you the quick version. Although I've been accused that this is a lie, I have 25 years working in the industry. I'm a mining engineer. I started my career out of university with ASARCO and working in copper mines. I was senior vice president and country manager for Corriente Resources and took the Mirador project all the way through feasibility, start of engineering. It was sold. I stayed on for a year, started construction, and went on to be the first large-scale mining operation in the history of Ecuador. So lots of experience on this, taking real assets and making sure they get across the finish line.
Right, so I know someone with your background doesn't decide to join a company with a market cap like Libero if they didn't believe in the team, the assets, and the jurisdiction that you're operating in. So can you give us just a brief overview of the main flagship? I know there's a portfolio of projects, but there's a focus that I know Libero is intent on advancing, and so I want to get your take on that portfolio.
You know, it's an interesting industry, right? Because if I said, listen, let's go into a 5 million market cap company that might find $1 billion asset through drilling.
Right.
And its chances are slim to none.
Right.
Or I have $1 billion asset, but we have to use a strategy that we've used before to unlock that overall value, right? It's actually a lot lower risk proposition because the geological risk has already been removed, right? Myself, the closest operating copper mine to Mocoa in Colombia is Mirador in Ecuador. Also, Ernie Mast, one of our directors, did almost the exact same thing as CEO of Cobre Panama with Inmet. Right. So we have that, I like to call it a secret formula, placing lots and lots of importance on creating real local relationships with the people that we work with, because that's what carries a project over the long term, right? So it's not as catalyst rich as a pure exploration drilling program, but it unlocks a significant amount of value. And the Mocoa project, we know there's not that many copper projects on the planet of its size and scale, and the world needs it. So it's a matter of time. We're doing that groundwork, and we're really close to the cusp of really being able to demonstrate what we're going to do with Mocoa.
You talked about unlocking value. There's a lot of runway between $5 million and $1 billion. For those not familiar with Mocoa, can you just give a brief overview of what's already there, how you plan on unlocking that value, and what people can expect from Libero here in the coming months?
So Mocoa is in the famous copper belt that goes from Chile all the way from Panama. In the case of Mocoa, it's in the Jurassic belt, which is the same as Mirador, Mirador Norte, Pananza, San Carlos, Warintza. It's known for a cluster-style porphyries. And Mocoa is just on one of those porphyry centers. We've identified another 7 within the area. It's open in all directions, but it already contains over 600 million tons, which contains over 2 million tons of copper. So based on value that is already in the ground, it's already one of the most undervalued projects on the planet in terms of the amount of copper it already contains. It also has about 225,000 kilos, 225,000 tons of moly contained. That's almost a world supply of moly. It's one of the highest unlocked moly projects in the world right now. I think the only bigger one is Pebble, which is just a massive project. So even a little bit of moly goes a long way. So even it's got a huge component of moly, and so it's already a very significant asset. It's one of the few big copper projects that exist on the planet today.
Risk reward, you mentioned Pebble, permitting, right? And we talked about unlocking that value and taking something that is being given very little to no value by the market right now with the market cap, and unlocking that $1 billion potential. How do you get there?
So the big way is what I already talked about. You make sure you're very, very strong locally. You have an excellent reputation nationally. I can't get into all the details, but I speak fluent Spanish. I live in Colombia. I do interviews. I'm on the front cover of magazines, because this is a very important issue for Colombia. Colombia today, 50% of the exports are oil and coal, right? Whether it's political or whether because the world doesn't need it or is transitioning, it needs new big industries. Macoa is one of the few projects that is really can build a new industry, can drive the economy, right? And so that's something that people really need to understand. This is a project that is going to move forward. It is only a question of time, and we're doing our homework. We're doing it the correct way because of the lessons we've learned previously on how to do this.
Excellent. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they reach out?
Well, we're definitely online, liberocopper.com. You can email me directly at harris@liberocopper.com, and also on all the social media. We try to be responsive and can definitely get in touch with us.
Bien, un placer. Muchísimas gracias. Te agradezco el tiempo.
Igualmente, mucho gusto. Gracias.